Good morning, students. In today's class, we are going to discuss about population and its attributes. First, let's come on the word population. After that, we are going to move on to its attributes. Population simply means that a single number of individuals of a single species, they are living together at a particular area at given time. एक ही स्पीशीज के मेंबर एक पर्टिकुलर जोग्राफिकल एरिया में एक गिवन टाइम पर सर्वाइव कर रहे हैं, दे आर मेकिंग वन पॉपुलेशन. सो इट इज इंडिविजुअल्स ऑफ अ सिंगल स्पीशीज surviving in a particular area at given time. That is one population. If we focus on this word species, then one population is going to have one single species. But members of one single species can be part of many populations. They can be a part of single population only, or they can be part of many populations. Say for example, if we are talking about frogs that are surviving in a pond, so all the frogs that are surviving in that pond, they are one population of same species of frog is going to be living in a pond, they are making one population. So this is a pond, here frogs are surviving, and there is a different lake or pond in which also some members of frogs are surviving. These are two different populations. Although same species is living over here also same species is living, but these two are living at different places. So these single species is going to make two different populations, and these species, the individuals of the species, they are morphologically similar to each other, and another thing is they can interbreed and they can produce fertile offsprings. Now this population is one single population is going to be divided into some subgroups also. These subgroups are known as demes, or we can say local population. On what basis we are dividing a population into many subgroups? That is simply on the basis of interaction the individuals are having. Those individuals are going to be placed in one deme or one subgroup which are going to interact more, and their exchanging genetic information is going to be more, means they are going to be involved in reproduction and their interaction is also more as compared to other individuals, or you can say other subgroups. So exchanging genetic information. And interaction is also more. So within one deme, the individuals are more interacting with each other, they are exchanging their genetic material. In other subgroup or other deme, their interaction is more. This is how one population is going to be divided into many subgroups. And obviously we are talking about ecology, so from here comes another branch of science, that is population ecology. So that is the branch of science in which there is study of individuals of a single species that are living in a particular area at a given time. How they are independent to each other, how they are aggregated at a single place. So all these things about a population, that we are studying, that is coming under population ecology. And each population is having some of its attributes, some of its characteristics, and the characteristic of population are always going to be different from the characteristics of organism, because here not one single organism is surviving, many organisms are surviving, that's why the characteristics are going to be changed. So now one by one we are going to discuss about its attributes. The first characteristic of population, attribute of population is pattern of distribution. In a particular geographical area, how a population has arranged, how it is distributed, that is basically known as dispersion. And this dispersion is dependent on many things, like if favorable environmental conditions are there, mild climate is there at that place, the population is going to be very dense. If we see in cities, there is dense population because of employment is there. Then in extreme environmental conditions, or you can say in harsh environmental conditions, the population is going to be very less. So this is how, depending upon the environmental conditions and other different factors, the distribution is going to vary. There is commonly two type of distribution, that is either the population is going to be present as a clumped population, or the pattern of distribution is going to be uniform. Clumped simply means that organisms are going to be present in clusters in those areas which are more supportive for the organisms. So if you see, this area is more helping the organisms to survive properly. This is how clusters are present. In a particular area, the population is going to be present in small patches, that is known as clumped population. Or somewhere uniform population is present. Uniform population, where in a geographical area there is uniform scattering of individuals, organisms are uniformly present all over the geographical area. Here we can consider example of some of the forest insects. They basically clump together in a log, wooden log, where humid conditions are more. So they are not going to be present everywhere in large number. They are going to be found in that wooden log in large number, because there they are getting humidity. In uniform distribution pattern, we can take example of trees in forests, which are going to be uniformly distributed across the forest, depending upon the light conditions they are getting and the competition for nutrition. So this is how the pattern of distribution is going to vary for different populations. The second attribute is variation in number. Populations are not constant. Different type of populations are there, they are going to vary in their number. So variation in number is going to be expressed by population size and population density. Population size simply means the total number of individuals that are present at a particular area at given time. That is going to give us the population size. It is total number of individuals. When we are talking about population density, then we are going to measure this population density with respect to space. Here the number of individuals that are going to be present according to area. Say if we are talking about animals, so how many number of animals of a single species are present per square kilometer. So this is how we are going to measure population density. If we are talking about trees, in a forest, then how many number of trees of this particular species are present per acre? Or if we are talking about aquatic organisms, say planktons, then we are going to talk about in volume. How many planktons, so single species, are present per cubic millimeter of water. This is how with respect to space population density is going to be calculated, and simply population density is going to be written as D, and it shows N upon S. N is going to be the number of organisms and this is going to be the space, that it can be in squares. If we are talking about animals, terrestrial area, when we are talking about water, that is going to be in cubes. So this is how the population density is measured, and there are various methods of estimation of this population density. What are these methods of estimation? Like total count. How many number of organisms are present in our area? We are going to just count them one by one. And this method is going to be more reliable for large size animals and birds, so that we can easily count them. So simply counting them one by one is going to give us the population density of that particular area. This is the simple and direct method. But many of the times, to find out population density is not that much easier that we are just going to count each and every organism and we will get total count. There are some indirect methods also that are used to estimate population density. Like we use relative method, relative count for certain organisms. Like if we are talking about fishes, so what we are going to do, we are going to see the population density of fish, a species of fish in that particular pond. Then what we simply are going to do, we just see in one trap how many fishes we are getting, and depending upon that we will make a estimation of population density of that particular species. So that is not a direct count, that is a relative count. Sometimes biomass, mainly in case of plants, wood biomass is going to be calculated, that is going to provide population density. For example, say carrot plants are going to grow, Parthenium is growing, 200 plants are growing, and there is one big banyan tree with a big canopy that is growing over there. So if we see the population density, then Parthenium almost 200 plants are growing, population density is going to be very large as compared to banyan tree, because only one single banyan tree is there. But if we are talking about the biomass, because that banyan tree is going to have a very big canopy, so the biomass is actually giving the population density of that particular banyan tree. Other methods can be again some tools that can be used, like footprints of organisms, pug marks of tiger, faces pellets of particular organism. If we are talking about birds, then we are going to count the nest of the birds. So these are some of the tools which can be used to estimate the population density. So these are various ways with the help of which we estimate population density. Now always there can be high population density or low population density, and this high and low population density is going to affect the survival of a population. Like if we see the effect of high population density, so more number of individuals are surviving, that means there should be scarcity of food, shelter also, and because of the scarcity of food and shelter, organisms are going to adapt various methods, or there are certain type of changes that are going to be seen in the organisms of the population. They might show emigration, they are going to leave the population permanently because there is scarcity of food and shelter, or they are going to be starving. In the deficiency of food, starvation is going to take place, and many of the organisms also show cannibalism. Means they are going to eat organisms of their own species. That is what cannibalism is. So this is how the organisms are going to adapt themselves, and there will be adverse effect of high population density. If we talk about the effect of low population density, that is also affecting the population. Low population density are again having certain disadvantages, like they are going to be have adverse effect of changing environment, because already the population number is going to be less. So if there is any adverse environmental situation, as any natural calamity, then again the population size is going to be very much decreased. So high and less population density is obviously going to affect the organisms of that particular population. For example, if we talk about, if we see some of the examples, like Indian rhinos are there. Indian rhinoceros are there, very less in number. So these, the male are going to be having difficulty in finding a female partner, because their territory is going to be very large, and the number of rhinos surviving in that particular territory is going to be very less. Same thing can happen in plants that are involved in cross pollination. If population density is very less, they are going to be very far away from each other, and the chances of pollination are going to be very less. This is how the small population density is going to be harmful. The chances of coming of new organisms, reproduction is going to be very less. So this is another attribute of population. The other two attributes of population are birth rate and death rate. First we are going to talk about birth rate, that is known as natality. We can say natality, and later on we will talk about death rate. See, birth is a term that is related with organism. When we are talking about birth rate, that is going to be an attribute of population, and this birth rate simply means addition of average number of individuals by birth in a population with respect to time. Say if we are talking about human beings, then how we can define birth rate? Birth rate means the number of individuals that are being added by birth, or number of new individuals that are coming per 1000 individuals per year. So number of new individuals per 1000 individuals per year, that is going to be the birth rate of a population. For example, if we take a simple example of a pond. So last year the pond was having lotus plants 20 in number, and if we are going to count the lotus plants next year, then now the new lotus plants are which are added in this population are, say 8 are there. So 20 were present already last year, 8 new plants have been added in that particular population. Then birth rate of that particular population is going to be 8 that were added in the pre-existing population 20, it is going to be 0.4. 0.4 offsprings per lotus per year. Per year, and that is the birth rate of this particular population. We are talking about the lotus plants, and we know if more birth rate is going to be there, birth rate is addition of individuals in a population, then size of a population is going to increase. The second attribute is related to this is death rate, that is mortality. Death is going to be a characteristic of organism, and when we are going to talk about death rate, that is a characteristic of population. So here also the average number of individuals of a population that are dying at a specific time. So if we are talking about human beings, then number of individuals die per 1000 individuals per year. Per 1000 individuals per year. That is going to give us the death rate. Again, let's consider an example and see how we are going to find out this death rate. Say we are taking in a laboratory, we are having 40 fruit flies that are surviving. So the number of fruit flies are, the initial number of fruit flies are 40. And at a given time, say that given time is 1 week. In 1 week, the number of fruit flies that dies in 1 week, they were 4. Then the death rate of these fruit flies, the population of fruit flies will be, out of 40, there is death of 4 fruit flies, that is going to be 0.4. So that death rate is going to be, sorry, it's 0.1, death rate is going to be 0.1 offsprings, or you can say 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. Because here we are talking about week, 1 week. So this is how we are going to see birth rate and death rate of a population, and these are two major attributes of a population, that is the death rate and the birth rate. The another attribute is dispersal. That is dispersal. Population is not going to be stable, or it is not a thing that is not going to change, because organisms can change their population. They can be part of one population at a given specific time, and they can move to another population also and become part of some other population also. So both the things can happen. Population is not going to be the stable one. So dispersion is shown by two things. One is immigration and the second one is emigration. Immigration simply means when the individuals, they are going to leave their population permanently and they are going to be a part of another population. Like people living in some different countries, like China is there, Nepal is there, they have left their country and now they are living in India and now they are part of our population. So that is immigration. They are going to leave their population permanently and become part of other population. So these individuals, these organisms, whenever they are coming to the second population, obviously that population size is going to increase because the number of individuals are increasing. Emigration is just opposite. From a population, organisms are permanently leaving that population, just opposite. So they are going to migrate. Say from India, many of the individuals are going to survive in Canada, or you can say America, and they become permanent citizens of Canada and America. So they are emigrating, and this is going to reduce our population size. So immigration is going to be responsible for increase in the population size, and emigration is going to be responsible for decrease in the population size. The factors for which immigration and emigration is taking place, that can be different for different organisms. Say some of the organisms are showing these factors because of food scarcity, or like in human beings it can be for better employment, job facilities, or there can be mating partners also. That can be a factor like adverse environmental conditions which have made these individuals to migrate from their place. So there are different reasons for dispersal of organisms, and that is responsible for change in the population size. So that is, the population size is going to change. Now let's discuss about the change in population size. We know dispersal is responsible for change in population size. Up to here we have talked about birth rate, death rate, immigration and emigration. All these four attributes are responsible for change in population size. Out of these, two attributes are responsible for increase in the population size, and two attributes are responsible for decrease in the population size. Say this is our population size. And I am showing all the four attributes. Immigration, birth rate, emigration, and death rate. These four are responsible for determining the population size. We can say, we can use the signs plus for immigration and birth rate because these are responsible for increasing the population size, and here we can use a negative sign to show that these two are responsible for decreasing the population size. So if emigration and death rate is going to be more as compared to immigration and birth rate, a population size is going to decrease. If these two attributes are going to be more as compared to these two, the population size is going to increase. So these are the attributes which are responsible for change in population size. So how we can represent this change in population size? So change in population size at time interval is equal to change in population size, or we are going to talk about a specific time interval with respect to time. So at time interval is going to be birth plus immigration at that time interval minus death plus emigration at that time interval. This is going to give us change in population at time interval. Say we are going to show change in population time interval with delta t. This is the time interval, this is the number of individual change in population, that is going to be B plus I, B for birth, I for immigration, minus D for death plus E for emigration. This is how we are going to get the change in population size with respect to time, and these are the 4 attributes which are determining the change in population size. Now, there are various environmental factors also which are going to be responsible for determining the population size and density. So, let us talk about the environmental factors which determine the population size and density. Simply resources. In resources we are talking about food, we are talking about shelter. We simply know more the resources are present, more will be the population size and population density. So, whenever up to when the organisms are getting the resources, reproduction is going to be more, birth rate is going to be more, and population size is going to increase. But when population size is going to be very large, obviously resources are going to decline, and when resources are going to decline, again the population size is going to reduce, the birth rate is going to reduce. So, availability of resources are going to determine that whether a population is going to increase in its size or a population is going to decrease in its size. That is important. Second is natural calamities. Say we can talk about, you can say thunderstorms are there, cyclones are there, tsunami is there, earthquake is there, drought, or you can say flood situations are there. All these situations are also responsible in determining the population size and population density. The areas which are more prone to these natural calamities, in those areas population size or population density is going to decrease. So, they are affecting the population size. The third one is abiotic factors. We have already talked about this thing. Temperature, humidity, rainfall, all these things, wind is there, all these factors are also going to define population size and population density. More suitable the environment is, more suitable the abiotic factors are, population density is going to be high in that particular area. More extreme the abiotic factors are, population density is going to be less. And last one are biotic factors. We can take simple example of biotic factors of predators and prey. We know in a food chain, in a normal environment ecosystem, predators and prey, the relation is like they are going to almost equally balance out each other. But when the number of prey are going to be more, that simply means the number of population size of predators are going to be increased, and when population of predators are going to increase, that means they are going to feed on more prey, and prey population is going to decrease. This is how these biotic factors are also responsible for determining the population size or population density. So, that is another population attribute. There are some other population attributes also, like sex ratio is there, age structure is there. So, in our next class we are going to discuss the other remaining part of population attributes.